Hi, this is Dan Bullard, retired electronics engineer, sitting on the front deck of my houseboat again. I got a couple things I want to talk to you about. Here's this video these guys did, and it's done by a company, and they're claiming that lightning creates harmonics. Lightning creates harmonics. That's crazy. Lightning is noise. Now, I'll admit that there'll be a lot of stuff in the spectrum that doesn't belong there whenever there's lightning in a power line or whatever, phone line, any kind of thing like that. But those are not harmonics. Harmonics are caused by something like a malfunctioning device, like I showed you that one device. And I've done a lot of DACs. I've written test programs for DACs and ADCs. Some of the DACs I did were for chromatic. They had it was called a RAM DAC. It was used for generating red, green, and blue for monitors. That's back in the days of CRT. So a defect in a DAC, a defect in an ADC, a defect in an amplifier, yes, those can create harmonics because it's like the nail in the tire. It happens every time the tire rotates. It's not like gravel in the road. That's noise. It's not like lightning. It's not like, oh my God. I can't believe these people talk like this. These people have degrees. I'm sorry. If you have a degree, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry you got ripped off big time. Okay, so lightning does not cause harmonics. It's a defect in the device, a defect in the part. And on power lines, you know, if there's some thing that disturbs the power line at some repeatable point in the transfer function, yeah, that'll cause harmonics. But harmonics are not caused by random events. I mean, like I said in another video, if a nuclear bomb went off, yeah, there'd be a lot of noise somewhere in the power lines and in the phone lines and every other kind of line except fiber optic. That fiber optic is immune to that. But that won't cause harmonics unless there's a fucking nuclear bomb going off every like nanosecond, picosecond, femtosecond. No, those random events do not cause harmonics. Harmonics are caused by defects in the electronics or in like the mechanical bearing or in a spacecraft or a wing. All kinds of things can cause harmonics. Why does a trumpet sound different from a flute? Because of harmonics. And, you know, that's just the way it is. You know, harmonics come from all kinds of things. I mean, when I worked for Genrad, I worked with a guy, Bruce Polo. Brilliant guy, brilliant. And he worked in mechanical engineering doing vibration testing on all kinds of stuff, including nuclear rockets. He told me about a Polaris missile on a launch pad, and they had to shake it. And they did modal analysis, so they shook it, and they had transducers on the thing to capture the vibrations that were happening in that thing because they want to know, is it going to cause a problem when it launches? You don't want these rockets to go up and then have the nuclear weapon go off right over the launch pad or maybe, you know, a couple miles downrange. So they would shake these friggin' nuclear missiles. And he said that at one time they were shaking this thing and the mounts broke and it fell down. So I know all about mechanical stuff. The laws of harmonics apply to everything on the planet, everything in the world, everything in the universe. So these aren't just like my rules, you know. These are laws of physics. So lightning is noise. It doesn't cause harmonics, despite what these idiots say. Okay, one more thing I want to talk to you about. Here's one that I did with a zero crossing distortion. And then I took the spectrum and I multiplied every harmonic by 1, by 2, by 4, by 8, by 16, and then by -1, -2, -4, -8, -16. Now you can't do minus in the multiplier in in complex format, that is in rectangular format. You can't do that because you need to take the square root of it. And so what I do is I take the absolute value of the multiplier. I use IM product. That's how you do it. It's for complex numbers. I don't have Excel. So I open this in my tool on the Mac called Numbers. And it says IM product is an unsupported function. Oh, that's too bad. The last calculated value is used, but the formula, and here's the formula, it at least gives me the formula. If $K $2, that's the multiplier, if that is less than 0, take the IM product of F41, which is the second harmonic, and take K41 and then minus K41. So I take the real and the imaginary. I don't know which one's which, but I use the minus sign in front of one of those. So if it's a negative number, if the multiplier is a negative number, I take the real and the imaginary, but I apply a minus sign to one of the two. I don't know which one it is. Otherwise, if the multiplier is not negative, then I take IM product F41, K41, K41. So I don't add the minus sign. So that's how I get around having a negative on my multiplier. You cannot take the square root of a negative number, period. But this is a really cool thing. So the reason that those waves go up and down is because I use this trick in there with IM product. Like I said, you cannot take the square root of a negative number, but I get around that by doing this. And you know, like I said, I'm not a math genius. I came up with some pretty clever things. I do that, you know. And what I have to do, and this is important for you to remember, when you get into doing this, when you get into doing all this math, this complex math and stuff, test it, test it, test it, test it. You're going to screw it up. You're going to get it wrong. I don't care how much education you've got, you're going to get it wrong. So test it. Generate a sine wave, do an FFT on it, fiddle with it, do an inverse FFT on it. Try to flip the phase, for example. I showed you how that I did that in another example. Flip the phase on it and see if you can get the phase to flip. Just test it, test it, test it. Make sure you're right. Remember I did that thing on the Javelin missile. If I'd done that wrong, that could be very, 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 very bad. And I think they probably suspected that, you know, if he had done anything wrong with that, and he doesn't have a degree, so he probably didn't do it right. That could go very bad. You know, you don't want to fire a missile and have it come back at you, you know, blow you to smithereens. So it's really easy to do. It's not that hard. I mean, I would sit there on my computer, on my PC, and I would do all these things, these experiments. I would find out what's really going on. But you got to do those experiments. That's how I do it, you know. I can't stress it enough. To find out if you're doing it right, don't do the algebra, don't do the math, don't do the fucking calculus. Do the experiments on Excel or MATLAB or whatever and see if you get the right result, the result you expect. That's how you do it. Anyway, so it's a beautiful Sunday. Nobody's come by yet. That's great. So once again, from the river, this is Dan Bullard. See ya.